Hi everybody and welcome back to our channel. I'm Sarah, a Canadian that's been living here in Croatia for the past 13 years now, and together with my Croatian hubby Ivan, we own and operate Royal Croatian Tours. So if you're looking to travel to Croatia, you know who to get in touch with. Today is all about Croatian places and cities and how to properly pronounce them. There are so many times when I'm on a call with one of our guests and they're telling me about a place they might want to see, and they always say, "I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. Oh, please correct me on how to pronounce this." And so people here don't really care if you pronounce things improperly. It's really not a big deal. But I know that many people really do want to try to say things and pronounce places properly. So this video, I'm going to show you how to pronounce common places that you might visit when you're here. And if you want to, great, you can learn how to pronounce it in, the Croatian way. If not, no big deal. You can say it any way how you like, but I'm just going to go through the main ones so you can learn if you want to. All right, the first one is maybe the most famous one. How would you say this? Most people say Dubrovnik. That's most people back home that I talk to. Some of my family and friends, they say Dubrovnik because that's how you would read that in English. In Croatian, you put the emphasis on the beginning of the word, not the middle. So you'd say Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik. And then don't forget to roll your R if you can. I know it's tricky, but if you can add a little R in there too. So Dubrovnik. Next one. How would you say this city? Where we live. So how I've heard it said a lot is Zagreb. Again, putting the emphasis on the second part of the word and not the first. Here in Croatia, a lot of the emphasis is on the first part of the word. So that might help you when you're trying to pronounce cities on your own. So we say Zagreb, not Zagreb, but Zagreb. So the emphasis is on the first part. Again, the tricky R roll. If you can do it, good job. All right. Next up, one of our favorite romantic places. How would you say this? This one's a bit tricky because there are some letters in here that don't sound like you might think they would. So I've heard a lot of people say Rovinj because in English, the J would be a hard J sound. So in Croatian, the J is actually like a Y sound, but this is actually one letter, the NJ, a Nj. And so it's not even like a single letter at the end, it's actually Nj at the end. So Rovinj. And you'd put the emphasis again more on the beginning of the word than on the end of the word. So instead of Rovinj, Rovinj. Next up is an island that is also tricky because of one of the letters in it. So how would you say this island? Mostly I hear people say Brač Island. I'd like to go to Brač Island. So that's how you'd read it in English, and that's totally okay. In Croatian, this letter actually sounds like a CH sound. So ch, so Brač. That's how that island would sound, Brač. And again, the R roll, it's in many places here. It's tricky. It took me a bit to get it, but if you practice, you'll get there too. So the island of Brač. Next one up, one of the most popular islands in Croatia. How would you say that one? Mostly how I hear people say it is Hvar, which is really not far off. That's pretty good, Hvar. So not bad at all. You just want to kind of combine the H and the V a little quicker. So like a little closer together. You hardly hear the H, like Hvar. It kind of blends together almost. Instead of Hvar, you don't do the H and then Var. It's more Hvar. So together, if you can do it. Again, the R is in there just to mix you up a little bit. Next up, we have another island. One of our other favorites is, how would you say that? Most people would say something like Korčula or something like that, or something along those lines. Again, you have the ch in here, which is pronounced like a CH. And again, you're going to put the emphasis on the beginning of the word, Korčula, Korčula. So again, roll your R, the CH, and then ula, Korčula. So try that one out. Next up, one more island, which is another one of my, I feel like everyone is my favorite island, but this is another one of my favorite islands. But this one's, for me, maybe the trickiest to pronounce. Even now, I still don't do it perfectly, so even jump in if I don't say it nicely. First of all, how would you say this place? Probably Mljet or something like that. Or yeah, most likely I hear Mljet, Mljet, maybe. Different variations, but it's not usually pronounced in the Croatian way because it's very tricky. This LJ are not two separate letters. They're actually one letter, which is Y. That is the hardest letter for me in Croatian is the Y. And I feel like sometimes I still don't get it right, but I try. So you'd actually pronounce this Mljet. So you kind of hear that like Mljet. Mljet. Try that one out. That one's still even tricky for me, so do your best. That's a hard one. Next one. The beautiful city of, most people would say, Šibenik or something along those lines. But this letter here is actually a sh, not an S, and the S with the accent, so the sh actually sounds like an SH, sh. So it's she, the I sounds like an E sound, so Šibenik, Šibenik. And again, the emphasis on the first part of the word, not like the second or last part of the word. So Šibenik, hometown of the famous basketball player Dražen Petrović. Next up is this beautiful place. How would you say this one? I usually hear it Zadar, which is really close to its pronunciation. But again, you're just going to move the emphasis here. So you say Zadar, first part of the word, and then of course the R at the end. So Zadar is how I would say it. Beautiful little town, nice sea organs, really unique place. I love it. This one might be the most mispronounced. So how would you say these lakes? This word here is quite tricky, but once you figure out how to pronounce these letters, I promise it's really not that tricky. And there aren't really many tricky letters in it. It's just knowing how the letters sound. So how would you say that? I usually hear like Plitvice or Plitvice or something along those lines. It's really Plitvice. So Plitvice. So the C here is not like a hard C, and it sounds like a ts. So Plitvice. Plitvice. Plitvice lakes. In Croatian, it would be Plitvička jezera, but if you can get just this in English, that's great too. So Plitvice lakes or Plitvička jezera if you want to be fancy. But I always just say Plitvice lakes. The most beautiful national park, I would say, in the world. Next up is this city. Even when I had a fun date day to this city a while back, this is a really beautiful city to visit. How would you say this one? Mostly we would hear like Rijeka or something like that along those lines, because this J is a little bit tricky because it sounds like a Y and not a J. So you'd say Rijeka. Again, it's hard because you start with the R. I feel like when you start with an R rolling, it's even harder than finishing with a rolling R. So this one is a bit tricky also because of that. So Rijeka. This big one is, how would you say that? This is a tricky one. I never hear it the same way twice, but how we'd say it in Croatian, well, how you'd say it in Croatian is Pelješac. So they have the tricky J, they have the sh, and the C that's a ts, not a k or anything like that. So Pelješac, Pelješac. And again, emphasis on the first part of the word, not the middle or the end. Pelješac. Pelješac Peninsula. And obviously peninsula is peninsula, so you get a free pass there. Great wine growing region, nice little stop between Split and Dubrovnik, Pelješac. Next one. This is a small, cute little town up in Istria. One of my favorite cute little fairy tale towns, and another tricky one to pronounce. So how would you say that? Probably Grožnjan or Grožnjan. It's a bit tricky because there are a few letters in here that are Croatian letters. So this Z with an accent or Z with an accent is Ž, so Grož, and this is a Nj. Again, that's one letter, the NJ together. So you'd say Grožnjan. And this one, the emphasis is a bit more actually on the last part of the word, which is fairly uncommon. So Grožnjan, try that one out. But very cute little hilltop town if you are going to visit Istria. This one is a good little day trip from Zagreb. How would you say that? Varaždin, probably. Varaždin. And you'd really say this in Croatian, Varaždin. You've got the R, then the Ž, so Varaždin. And as it typically follows, the emphasis would be on the first part of the word, so Varaždin. So that's how we'd say it here in Zagreb, but I guess locals to Varaždin would say Varaždin, so the emphasis would actually be in the middle. So you put the emphasis where you want to put the emphasis, but just remember the Ž, Varaždin, or Varaždin, your choice. Next one, this beautiful eastern city in Croatia. How would you say that one? Probably Osijek when you first saw it, maybe. Actually, as you may know now, the J sounds like a Y, so it's Osijek. 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 This one is very similar, Osijek, but has the J also, which sounds like a Y. How would you say that one? It's not Opatija, it is Opatija. So this one's rather simple. You just have to remember to switch the J to a Y sound and not a J sound. Opatija. Cute little coastal town. The first touristic town in Croatia, actually. Very nice little spot. Last one up, we have this amazing national park. And people just get mixed up with this first part since the J. I see the J is very common in these. And so if you remember the J really just sounds like a Y, then you'll be on the right track already. So here you'd say Brijuni. Brijuni National Park. Brijuni. Fun national park up in Istria and good for a day trip from Rovinj or Pula. So those are just some Croatian places and cities that you may be visiting and that you may want to learn how to pronounce in the Croatian way. If you don't, no big deal. Give it a try if you can. But yes, if you want to learn, hopefully this video helped you. So thanks so much for watching again, and we will see you all again soon.